students. I'm Mrs. Schweller. I am the librarian here on the Point Loma campus. I was the librarian at the La Mesa campus for about 7 years before this. I was also, you might be interested to know, a classroom teacher for grades 2nd through 5th, which means I know what you guys are going through. I know what you're learning in your classrooms, and I am here to support you. I have the best job on the campus, and that is because I get to see you guys every week, at least once a week, year after year. I get to watch you guys grow up, and it's my job to be here to make you love learning, to help you discover your interests and find out more about what those interests are. You may have guessed that I love to read, which is absolutely true, but I also have a lot of other interests, including plants. So I have lots of plants around the library. My house is full of plants because they provide fresh air, they connect me to nature, and they just make me feel calm. I love running and staying fit. It makes my brain work better when I go for runs. I enjoy cooking with my husband and my son. It's a great bonding time after school. And I love animals. That might be an understatement. I really love animals. So I have 2 dogs, one of which is being trained to be a library service dog.
Bruce is the cutest.
2 tortoises, 3 lionhead rabbits, and 3 fish. I hope you enjoy this video orientation. All right, let's start at the beginning. Here is the book return. If I am not available for you in the library or the door is locked, you may place your book in the book return. All right, let's go in. Let's start to our right. Okay, so first of all, we have our picture book section, and we all know that picture books are for everyone, all ages, including adults. They run from A to Z along this wall, organized by the author's last name. And then I decided this year that we would include a section of beginner chapter books. And so at the top here, you will be able to find Magic Tree House and other books similar in reading level. We have the Zoe and Sassafras series, which I absolutely love. Down here, we have Owl Diaries moving on through, and you can see that lots of mystery books right here, A to Z mystery books, Calendar Kids, and they all go right here. And right here in the middle of where the picture books are located is this cozy little seating area and creation area. So kids like to relax on the couch and read books. They like to come to these tables and use the air dry clay or any of our other art supplies, which you will see shortly. So moving on with the books, this year we genreified the library, and so all of the books are organized by genre. So we have graphic novels, the fantasy fiction, science fiction. Kids love fantasy, and so this is probably our biggest section. As we go around to the side, you can see that we always have an ongoing puzzle. This is newly put out, and it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And earlier this year, James and the Giant Peach, we taped it up because we just couldn't bear to take it apart. Always an ongoing puzzle. Wrapping around to this side, we also have realistic fiction, animal fiction, adventure survival, and then our award-winning books are here, and historical fiction. This makes it a lot easier for you guys when you have assignments for your classrooms, book reports, and things like that. You can find the type of book you need or the type of book you like. Next to that, we have our magazine rack, and we have lots of subscriptions. We have subscriptions to The Week, The Faces, Highlights, Sports Illustrated for kids, Nat Geo for kids, and many more. And these are always great if you forget your book and you can't check out another one. You can always sit down and relax with a magazine. And then behind this door is where all of the fun toys and stickers and candies live that you can buy with your dojo points that you earn. Water bottle stickers. So as you earn dojo points with me in the classroom for being great citizens, you can then spend those dojo points on the things that live in that cabinet. Now this is the best spot. This is where every class, all the way up till 5th grade, comes and gathers around, and we read together and we talk about books, and we don't have tests on them and make them stressful. We just enjoy literature together right here. This chair is really special to me. It was my son's and lived in his room for 5 years. And so it's only fitting that it now lives in the library so it can continue to be used for reading aloud. Now this is our nonfiction section, and it is set up using the Dewey Decimal System. And so you would be able to see the markers right here and know where each section starts. Our reference section was honestly phased out because of how outdated the materials were and because of how great the databases are nowadays in finding reference materials. However, that being said, I do plan on adding some more to that. Moving on though, we have lots of awesome fairy tale books in our section. We have lots of dino books, which are a huge hit with the students. Animal books, from sea animals to spiders to insects to horses and mammals, things like that. We have poetry section right here with our favorite right there. Everybody loves Shel Silverstein. And moving on, we have the biography section, which is also frequented regularly. I also keep on display the books that I'm reading aloud to certain grades, and so right now, Scary Stories for Young Foxes is probably one of the most popular books I've ever read aloud. Right here is my desk, aka the circulation desk, and so students would line up right here, and I will scan out books to them, and they return their books right here on the black cart, so it's easy access for me. Also on my desk live, during the school hours, Sunny and Cherry, the beloved tortoises. There's the printer. So those of you who like to make creations on Canva can print to the printer. And of course, to do that, you would need your Chromebook. So either your Chromebook that you were issued by the school, or you can use the Chromebooks in here. And then probably one of the favorites is the ArtStation Creation Station. I have everything you would need to create paper art, from markers to oil pastels to colored pencils and crayons, glue sticks, Sharpies, watercolors, in addition to all these other little odds and ends in the Creation Station. And this is probably what draws the most attention during recess hours. There's also old school games, so we can disconnect from the Chromebooks and other technology that we use so often and just enjoy each other's company and connect in this space. As you can see, there are lots of desks, lots of seating. They can be rearranged into groups and accommodate whatever lesson we are working on or whatever we're integrating into your classroom learning. Over here are all my favorite teaching books, but I do lend them out if kids are interested. And there's the art drying rack for your creations to dry. And that is our wonderful Warren Walker Library. Hi everybody, me and Bruce, my library buddy, are here today, and we're going to tell you about our resources. Now, if you remember from the introduction video, we actually don't have any print resources in the library right now, but we have some really great electronic resources. And so I'm going to go over those and how you can access them, especially 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You're going to want to know where to find this stuff. right, everybody. So here we are on the library homepage. And this page is meant for everyone, really. So I'll put resources that anyone can use on this page. And so if you scroll down, you'll see the headline here. And you'll notice the buttons in this area. Right now, I'm going to get started with Epic Books. So when I click on Epic Books, it's going to open up in a new tab. Okay, so here we are at the login page, and you will be presented with probably two options. One being that the class code is already saved and is sitting right next to this apple. But if that's not there, you can enter our class code. I'm not going to tell it to you on this video. It does change year to year anyway, but the code is always posted up on the library wall. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and you can see that it allows me to search for any student. So instead of scrolling through trying to find your name, you want to go ahead and type it in until your little monster pops up. And I'm going to go ahead and click on this student's name. But here is an important piece of information. Epic Books for Schools is fully free, but it's only available during the school hours, during the school days from around 7:30 to 3:30 p.m. And so you would only be able to use these resources during those hours. That being said, when I click on this, you'll see that the school is not available right now because I'm doing this outside of school hours. Luckily, I'm a teacher, so I can continue on and show you what it would look like to access a set of Epic Books as a student. All right, so here I am back at the library website, and I'm going to go over to grade level, and I'm going to choose 4th grade because they are working on influential Black Americans research project as well as state reports. So when I click in here, I can see Black American Epic Text Set and another resource board that I created, which we'll get to in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Black Americans Epic Text Set. Okay, and so here you can see the collection of books that I put together for the 4th grade class who is studying the influential Black Americans in history. And these are all ebooks, so you can open them up and scroll through them, and I'll give you an example. But first, just know that pay attention to the load more button because usually there's more to load, okay? And I picked these books because of the content and because they are relevant to the age group. So I made sure it was an appropriate reading level for the students who are using these text sets. So let's look at the Mae Jemison ebook and click Start Reading. And you'll see it loads, and I'm just using the arrow keys to navigate through this. So I can see the captions, I see great pictures, I can tell what each page or section's topic is, and so personal life is part of the assignment, and so I could easily see that this is about Mae Jemison and how she grew up. What would her childhood be like? Additionally, if you don't know what a word means, you can also click on it and it will pronounce it for you, and it will give you the definition of the word. So this is really cool. I love that feature. All right, kiddos. So going back, there's one more feature. So there are videos for some of the Black Americans, and those are also part of the collection. And so the kids who have Frederick Douglass, and Harriet Tubman and Barack Obama and others are pretty lucky because not only do they have books in this selection, but they also have some cool and reliable videos to learn more about their American. All right, here we are back again at the home page of our library website, and we know that this is where so many resources are housed. So here we have our databases, and databases are places where reliable information lives and students can access what they need through these databases. One of my favorite ones to use are the Britannica Encyclopedia databases. And so if I click on this button, you can see the page open and you can see the search bar up here, which is going to be the most used feature when you're doing research. There are other really fun little elements that they do put on here. You can explore articles, images, and videos, and of course biographies, which is an important unit in a few of the classes. Going down, you have things about the animals, geography, but I want to show you how to do a search in here. And so for those students who are going ahead and starting their research projects on their states, they would click on the search bar and type in what they're looking for. And so say you're searching for California, which nobody gets to have. You're going to type it in and look, here I have, it's almost set up like Google where you have like the names of websites, but here you have different articles or entries. So I'm going to choose the very first one, California state in the US, because it makes the most sense for what I'm looking for. The bottom one, for example, says US political subdivision. That's going beyond the expectations of the research project I need to do. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click on California state. And I can see a brief introduction. If I use my carrots, I can then scroll down and see the geography, the people, economy, and history. Now, if you notice that above each section, there is a play button. And this feature is really awesome because when you use it, it will actually read aloud to you. And even for proficient readers, sometimes when we're kind of trying to scroll through all kinds of information and gobbledygook and pull out what we really need, it can be hard to focus or hone in, and having that extra added element of being read aloud to can help us comprehend what we're actually looking for. So I do recommend that to some students. Also, please know that you can choose from different reading levels up above. And so if this doesn't include the information you need, or you think it seems a little too simple and you need just more detail, you can always go ahead and click up to the next reading level. And then you'll see a lot more going on. So if I scroll down, there's a lot more detailed information, but I notice it's not necessarily as clearly organized. Nevertheless, you have a lot more going on. Now, say you are doing, writing something about the geography, and you see Pacific Coast ranges. It's in blue, but why? Well, it means it's a link and it'll take you to more information about the Pacific Coast ranges. And so you can even navigate away from what you are looking at, the general California information, and really hone into the different aspects. I'm going to go back to where I was and scroll back up to the top. And you can see that now that I'm on 2, I can even go further and go to reading level 3. And I'm not going to do that today because I think you get the point, but just know that you don't just stop with level 1. You can go all the way up to level 3. And if you're a really confident reader, that's definitely not a bad idea. Other things you can find are images and videos. So if you needed something to look at, or you wanted a map to understand the terrain, for example, or just images of these geographical areas, then this is a great tab to click on. Okay. We are now going to move on to one more database. Okay, so one of the final things I do want to show you is that I do create Wakelet boards for different research projects. And I'm going to show you what that means. So I'm going to go to the 4th grade site, keep up with that same thread. And you can see that there's the Black American Encyclopedia Plus Resource Board. And so if I click on that, you'll notice that there is a heading right here with the title, Black American Report. 4th graders, please use this collection as resources to complete your influential Black American Report. So it has the purpose of the Wakelet board. Wakelet board is just like a bulletin board. So if I were to pin information up on a bulletin board, it's very similar to that. Now, you can see what each of these links will give you information about. And so here's one about John Lewis. You can see that it's from nationalgeographic.com. And if I scroll down, I will then see Britannica school entries on each of these individuals. And there will be more added as these students continue to research from other websites that I will vet, meaning I will make sure they have appropriate information for the fourth graders research project. You can see that some of them are from Time for Kids and other reliable websites. So let's go back up to the Nat Geo Kids, because you've already seen you've already seen the encyclopedia. So let's go ahead and click on John Lewis, like we said. And you'll see a picture of him and then information about him as we go down. And you would go ahead and sift through this and try to find out as much as information as you could about his life and what makes him influential. Okay. And that is what a Wakelet board looks like. So you can be looking forward to those from me as I work with your teachers. So here I have clicked on the Nat Geo Kids database from the home page. And this is what the opening page looks like. Now, Gale databases have several different topics or versions of their databases. And so you could find some on science, you could find some on the environment, and so on. So this is the Nat Geo Gale database, and it's really easily organized or easy to see where you can find your information you need. So we have kid magazines, we have books, we have videos, and we have pictures. So I can go up to my search bar and I can type in anything that I'm looking for. So maybe I'm doing a research report on sharks. I can type in the word sharks, and it's going to pull out all of the magazines, the books, videos, and magazine covers that relate to sharks or have sharks in them. So let's go down to books, because this is definitely one of the best resources for the second graders who do research projects on sharks. And so you can see the 4 here highlighted, but I can choose more books and scroll through them like this. All right, so once I start going this way, it's more general, right? So I'm going to stick to the top, and I'm going to choose the ones that look really like they're focused on sharks. And being that I'm in second grade, I'm going to choose this short book on sharks. Now, when I open it, I'm going to be able to flip through the pages just like any other ebook. And sometimes they are slow to load. There's a lot of information going on these pages and a lot of media. Once it loads, you'll be able to use these arrow keys to scroll through and read the pages of the books. Now, these also allow you to listen to the books. So if I click the play button and hit listen and turn up my volume, okay, so it's not the most human voice, but it's still really great, especially for kids who are still learning to read for information. And let's see. When you get older, you can also cite, meaning give credit to the people who write these books. You can grab the link over here and save it if you wanted to later, and you could even print out the resources. Hi, welcome to the Warren Walker Library website. So the Lauren Walker Library website is used at every single computer class, and that's because all of your assignments live on the website. We use it to house all of the activities and links that you need. So when you get into the Google Chrome browser and you click on the bookmark for the library site and open it up, the first thing you'll see is this homepage. So the home page is made for everyone, all the grades. So instead of posting something that everyone would use on every single grade level page, I just put it here on the front page. Here is the one example, which is Women's History Month exhibit. Now it's March 1st today as I record this, and that's the first day of Women's History. And this is an exhibit where if you click it, you will then be led into a museum-like virtual tour where you can click on different women's portraits to read epic books about them or watch videos about them. Now, that's just one example of something that you would find on the home page. And if you scroll down, here's last month's, but I left it up just in case other kids didn't get a chance to see it due to absence. But if you scroll down, then you'll see what lives on here at all times and doesn't change. And that is the links to our resources and online databases. And so we have Britannica Elementary, which there is a tutorial on search strategies on this on this video. We also have Environmental Studies Database, the Gale Interactive Science Database, and National Geographic Kids Database. And database, of course, we know is where we can search for and find information that we need. Underneath that, you will find a link to the Gulls Gazette, which is our school newspaper. Everything that you click opens up in a new tab. So here you see the Gulls Gazette just opened, and it's our online newspaper. But I can just click out of that tab and I still have my library website open. So you don't need to go through the process of constantly closing and opening it. There's also some other resources for read alouds and things that are entertaining and things that you can enjoy that have to do with books. Now, this technology guide for staff and students is located in two places, right here on the home page, and it's also located up here in my menu. And so if I clicked on that, I would find information that would be helpful to me. We're going to review that at the end of this video. So if you need help, refer to the end of the video. Okay, now the next most utilized part of the website is going to be your grade level. So if I hover over this grade level and I see that the caret is pointing down, meaning I have more choices, I can then choose a grade level that the grade level I'm in to navigate to. So let's say I am in the middle of doing my Black American or I'm finishing up my Black American project that my teacher assigned to me. I can go to the fourth grade web page and I can find the text sets that Mrs. Schweller, me, the librarian, has made for you to do your research. I can find resource boards. I can find Google Slide templates that have been made just for me. And then I can also find all of the other links to regularly used platforms. So typing agent's a really big one. So you can navigate to typing agent from here by clicking on the button. And again, it opens in a separate tab, and then you can log into typing agent from there. If I say I want to play a game of Kahoot, you would go to the fourth grade website, you would click on the link Kahoot, and then you would be able to follow directions from there. It's important to be on your own grade level because a lot of these links are specifically for each grade. Meaning if you were to click on Kahoot from third grade, it might take you to a different classroom grouping and it might not work for you. Same with Pixton. You definitely want to use these links on your homepage. They're very specific. Okay, other than that, we haven't gotten to podcasts too much, but once we do start collecting them, they're going to live here. There are student book talks, and so if you wanted to hear other kids' perspectives on certain books, you could go here. There are also book rooms, and so these are all rooms where you can click inside of
and listen to certain stories being read aloud to you, they tend to take a little while to load just because there's a lot of content on here. And then, of course, we have that tech guide for students that I was telling you about. Now, I'm going to go back to the homepage by clicking on the Warren Walker Library site. And again, that takes you all the way back to where you started. And this is the main gist of the library site. It's really a tool for students to use and to complete assignments or find resources on.
Hi everybody, today we're going to talk about some basic search tips using the online database Britannica School, and then we'll talk about search tricks and tips for Google itself. But I like to start with Britannica because it's the most used database on our campus, and a lot of these tips and tricks and search strategies can be used on other databases. So first I'm going to start by choosing a reading level, and usually you're probably going to start with either elementary or middle school. So I'm going to go ahead and choose middle school, and it opens up the middle school homepage. There's lots of things to explore in Britannica, but because this is a search tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and go right to search. So today I'm going to search up, let's do giraffe. So I type in giraffe, and you notice that as I'm typing, it already knows what I'm going to say. So it kind of suggests that for me right here. But it also suggests other things that start with G-I-R-A. But if you notice I keep typing, it really goes to giraffe from there. So then I'm going to hit enter, and I automatically return a list of articles about giraffes. And if you scroll down, you can see the different options. Now, all of these are not specifically about giraffes, but they mention giraffes. And so down here in the little blurb where you can find out if this website is going to actually give you information that you want, then you can read that. So here it says deer, mammal, and then it goes on to list other animals, and giraffes is just part of that list. This is probably not what I'm looking for, right? It's more focused on the deer. So I'm going to go back up to the top here, and the very first return is all about giraffes, mammals. So this is likely going to be the article I want to read. But before we go on to that, I wanted to show you the rest of the options up here. So next to articles, we have images. And you're able to zoom in and out of the images, make them bigger or smaller. And you're also able to look at the thumbnail versions, which have small captions underneath describing what it is you're looking at. So while this may look more appealing and more closer up, choosing the thumbnail version is actually going to give you a little more information. Next up are videos. And so here we can see that there are 2 videos we can watch that are going to be age appropriate about giraffes. Next, if we go to more, we can actually search up the definition of what a giraffe is by choosing dictionary. We can look for magazine articles about giraffes. And if you scroll through, lots of different articles to choose from magazines. But my very favorite option is going to be the web's best sites. Now, this is where the editor of Britannica School goes out onto Google or other search engine and finds other websites about giraffes outside of Britannica School that are age appropriate and also reliable with good information. And so this is why I started here instead of on Google, because if I choose this, the editor's already done a search for me. And it's guaranteeing me that I am not going to see anything that's not age appropriate, and that I'm going to find some information here that is going to relate to what I'm looking for. So if I click on the first option, you can see that a new tab opened, and it takes me to the Science Kids Fun Science and Technology for Kids website. And it gives me all kinds of quick, fast facts about giraffes.
All I have to do to get out of this is close the tab, and then I can go on to the next. Let's check San Diego Zoo animals since we are in San Diego. Another reliable website, and it talks about giraffes. It gives us the scientific terms for giraffes, lifespan, and size, and other really good information about the life of a giraffe. Okay, so let's go back to the Britannica School and go back to the articles. Okay, so if we choose giraffe mammal article, the very first return, right here is where we can see that all the information is organized with subheadings, and there's also other links in the paragraphs if we need more information about what we're reading. And so if we want to know more about Serengeti National Park, where there is a habitat for giraffes, we could click on that and continue on our search journey. I'm going to use the back arrow and go back up to the top. One last feature would be related. So if I clicked on that, it would give me more information about things that are related to giraffes, like the fact that they're mammals, an animal, a vertebrate, and so on. And from here, you can also go to Web's Best Sites. So here again, we have the websites listed for you to explore outside of Britannica. All right, on to Google search tips and tricks. One of the strategies I like to use are quotation marks. And so you would use quotation marks in order to keep a group of words together in the same exact order. So, for example, if you remember the line of a poem, but you don't remember the name of the poet or the name of the poem, you could search up the line that you remember. But I'm going to do it without quotation marks first. So I'm going to type in a squirrel venturing close. I remember it being a line of a poem, and I just don't remember where. So when I hit enter, I can see that the main search returns coming back with images of squirrels and things about squirrels, right? And that is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a poem. So watch what happens when I go back and I put quotation marks around the phrase. Now Google's going to search for this exact phrase verbatim in this order. Enter. And I'm still seeing things for squirrels, but look right here, poets. And I can see right now there's no power like home. That sounds really familiar. So I'm going to click on that. Yes, this is the poem, and it's written by Amanda Gorman. That's right. So now you can see that using quotation marks will make your search more specific. All right, let's do another search use another search strategy using the word or. So sometimes when you're doing research, say on outer space, but you also know that scientists will use the word solar system if you wanted to be more specific about outer space. You could type in outer space or solar system, and then you're going to get results for both outer space and solar system. So here, outer space, solar system and beyond, our solar system, and so on. Outer space, solar system, and planets. This allows you to search two specific things at the same time or use two specific words that are related to each other that you might want to find information on for both. And then the last strategy I like to use is simply being more specific. So watch what happens when I search the word apple. Now, I want to learn more about apple fruit because it is fall, let's say, and I just love the fruit apple. It's my favorite. So I'm going to type in apple. But Apple Computer has kind of dominated the market. And so here, all I see are websites about Apple or where they sell Apple. I don't see anything about Apple the fruit. So in this circumstance, I would want to be really specific. Apple fruit instead, let's say. Enter. Now I have what I'm looking for, right? And if I scroll down, it's all about apples. It's not about Apple computers. I hope this helps. Okay, so let's talk about copyright, plagiarism, and fair use. While the three are connected, they are very different from each other. So the first thing you'll want to know is where to find the resources that will explain the difference to you. And as usual, these resources are housed on the Warren Walker Library site, and they're on the home page because they apply to all grade levels, really. But fourth and fifth grade and third grade, this will be of specific interest to you. So you're going to scroll down where you get to the resource section and research section. And I have found this awesome website that has lots of information, and it will help you dive deeper into what it is to plagiarize or have copyright infringement issues, and what fair use is. But first, I want to start with these two infographics. Okay, here's Copyright 101, which, by the way, does have a creator, and that creator is listed at the bottom here. So you can see where this infographic came from. And although she published it in the Commons, in the Creative Commons, she is still listed here because that is best practice. Now, whenever anyone creates any kind of work, put down on paper or recorded, for example, it's automatically copyrighted. And that means that it's protected by law from anyone else using that creative piece and copying it or using it as their own. Now, the reason why people want to have copyrighted works is so that they are more free to put their work out into the public, and then the public can learn from it or appreciate or experience the creative piece without the creator worrying about it being stolen or used in a way that they don't want it to be used. So what's an example of something that's original but not copyrightable? Here we have a really great example. You sang a song that you have created and it's not recorded. So although you wrote the song in your head and you sang it out loud, if somebody else decides to take that song and use it, it's not copyrightable and you're not protected by the law. If we go down, there's also some other things to consider, including public domain. So some people create things and they forfeit the copyright and they put it into the public domain so other people can use it or copy it at their will. Although best practice still says to give credit to the person who created the work. Copyright also isn't forever. It does expire. I believe it's 70 years after the death of the person who created it. Okay, so let's review using this Copyright for Kids PDF that's also included on the library homepage. So here we see if Alex draws a picture, we can see he is the copyright owner, right? So if you draw a picture, who is the copyright owner?
Me.
That's right, you're the copyright owner. All right, so if Sarah wants to make a copy of Ethan's story, what should she do?
Ask Ethan.
That's right. So if your best friend wants to make a copy of your awesome story, who does he need to ask for permission?
Me.
That's right. All right, if Jade writes a story, who's the copyright owner?
Jade is.
That's right. And if Mrs. Schweller writes a story,
It's Mrs. Schweller's.
that's right. Now, what law says you are the copyright owner of the pictures you paint and the stories you write?
Copyright law.
Correct. Okay, so if you want to review some of the items that have copyright protection, you can read this paragraph, or you could even scroll down to the word search, and you can see blog, book, lyrics for songs, maps, movies, newspapers, paintings, scripts, sculptures, software, songs, video games, and websites. You could also use this space to create your own picture. And guess what? When you're done, it will have copyright protection. So, what is plagiarism? Now that we know what copyright is, we need to understand the difference between the two. First of all, plagiarism isn't illegal like copyright infringement, but it's highly frowned upon, especially in schools, universities, and at workplaces. Plagiarism is when you try to take somebody else's ideas or creative original work and make other people believe that it's your own work. Let's consider this scenario. You're in 6th grade writing a paper for English class, and you're super frustrated because you cannot come up with any original ideas at this time. You suddenly remember that your brother, who is now in 8th grade, had the same English teacher. He might have the same exact paper you need. If you copy your brother's paper with his permission, is this still considered plagiarism? Yes, 100% this is still considered plagiarism. Even though your brother may have given you permission to use his paper, the fact is you took ideas and plucked them from his brain. They're not your ideas. You borrowed them from your brother, and now you're trying to pass them off as your own to your teacher. So with so many creative works out in the world for us to enjoy, does that mean we can never use any of it without first getting permission from its creator? No, there's such a thing as fair use. And while copyright law does protect creative works, fair use policies say that as long as you are using small amounts of the copyrighted work to create a new idea, and you're not trying to make money off of the portion that you borrowed, then it's okay to use without direct permission from the creator. While only courts can decide if copyrighted material that's borrowed is considered fair use, they're usually more lenient for educational purposes, news reporting, criticizing the copyrighted work, or using a small portion of the copyrighted work to express a separate idea or make a point. Understanding copyright, plagiarism, and fair use will help you be a more responsible student and citizen. Remember, give people credit for their original works. Make sure to use citations when you're writing research, and never try to pass off someone else's ideas as your own. All right, so what happens if you need help with something? You can't remember how to log into one of the platforms, you're not sure how to navigate something in Google. Well, starting off on that home page, the website that we use for everything, you can go up into the menu and select Tech Guide for Students and Staff. And when you click on that, you will see that the site you're going to enter houses video tutorials on how to use the platforms taught during my library tech classes. And they're recorded by me, Mrs. Schweller, which means they're going to be relevant to you and how we use these programs at our school. And that can be better than just a generic tutorial on, say, Canva or Typing Agent. The video tutorials on how to navigate various elements of Google Workspace are done and borrowed from other people online who are experts in Google. So let's get started. Okay, little glitch there. Now, here you see Teacher Tech, Kids Only Zone, and Tech Team. Let's start off in the Kids Only Zone. Recognize these? These things are things you use all the time, right? But what if you're home on break and for some reason you cannot remember how to log into Typing Agent? All you have to do is choose Typing Agent tutorial and press the play button to listen to me explain how you can log into Typing Agent from your house. When you're done with that, you can always go back up to the drop-down menu and under Kids Zone and choose something else. Maybe you signed an acceptable use policy when you got your new Gmail account and you can't remember exactly what that entails. You could click on this and you could press play and listen to me explain to you how to properly use school materials, school devices, and school emails, and so on, and how to interact with your classmates. Now, this drop-down menu is it says for teachers and kids, okay? And from here, you can choose all of these different Google tutorials. So maybe Mrs. Or Senora Cervantes wanted you to make a Google site on a Spanish-speaking country, and you just can't remember how to get started. You can just go ahead down to the Google Workspace drop-down menu and click on Google Slides. And you'll have 3 different resources to choose from. So if you want to read about tips and tricks, here's just a document embedded. There's also the actual Google Slides training site. And then this is a Google Slides presentation made by Candace Graham, who used to work here in the middle school. And she put together this awesome tutorial along with some videos and a linked table of contents in the beginning. So all these are available to you to learn more about Google, how to get started, and maybe some of the little extras that you'd like to add to make your project creative. Now, lastly is the tech support tab, which is just me and Groff. So my email is here, rschweller@warren-walker.com. I check my email all the time. And Mr. Groff's email is here as well. Now, this is not Mr. Groff. This is a famous actor who I like to have fun with Mr. Groff about, saying they look alike. Now, the first person you want to talk to is me. So if I can't help you with your situation and it's a technical situation, then we could reach out to Mr. Groff. The other way that you can contact me is by just coming into the library during any of your recess times, before, after school, during lunch. I am always in there and available, and I am happy to help you. I am here for you. I am actually a resource, just like the computers and just like the books. So please never feel uncomfortable asking for help. I am happy to help. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in class.